I'd like to start, since you're certainly no stranger to London, by asking you to explain in a bit more detail how these local elections, where the governing Labour Party was practically crushed, unfolded. Why were they crushed exactly? But they don't affect the government directly. One by one, ministers are resigning, and Starmer's government is starting to fall apart. What's the reason?
Well, remember that old joke about the Jews on Brighton Beach back in Dovletov's time, when, well, it was hard, there was no internet yet, they'd get through once every 100 years and ask, "So how are things? How are you doing there in America?" He says, "Oh, what's there to say? It's fine." He says, "Well, Ziama got married, Devora got divorced, Kaim is drinking again." "Yeah, I get all that, but how's America?" He says, "What about America? We don't go there." And so, of course, when you say that London is close to me, well, of course, I'm still not a big expert on British politics. So in Britain, I'm just a layman. As a layman, I want to say that there are reasons and then there are pretexts. Well, of course, these elections are a pretext, not the reason. That is, the reason is that in the country since Brexit, and probably even earlier, because Brexit itself didn't just appear out of nowhere, there is an ongoing economic, political, and social crisis as well, the manifestations of which we see everywhere, both in the scope of social policy and in a certain stagnation of the economy, and in this anti-migrant movement, and in the anti-Semitism of the left-wing movement, and in the Islamophobia of the right-wing movement. That is, these are processes that are growing, and unfortunately nowhere is there a reverse trend. You see, Lenin once wrote that all the old governments only, as it were, perfected the state machine, while the Bolsheviks were supposedly the first to break it. But the problem here is that each subsequent British government so far only perfects the crisis, and no one is breaking it. So that's the reason. And the pretext is the local elections. It's not direct because, in reality, to be honest, just like the European Parliament elections before, local elections don't reflect the real balance of power. In Italy, in Great Britain, there's a very complex electoral system where it seems you can let off steam in local elections, but at the same time, you don't really gain anything in national elections. That is, in itself, it's extremely unpleasant, but it could have been survived against the backdrop of this growing crisis, against the backdrop of the fact that Labour came in on a wave of superinflated expectations. Essentially, in my view, they proposed a sort of socialist concept of development for the country. I even joked that I really shouldn't have been let out of Russia. Everywhere I go, socialism seems to break out. So, against this backdrop, it's turned into an opportunity for many to show their true colors. I mean, people are nervous, they're afraid that following this remarkable result for Labour, which rode a wave of disappointment with the Tories, there will be an even greater disappointment. Everyone's afraid of Reform UK, that unsinkable Farage who's charging ahead like a Trump clone, and people are starting to get the jitters. And they feel that, let me say one thing that explains it all. Remember that great movie, The Garage, where Ryazanov's character says, "My dear, to betray in time isn't betrayal, it's foresight." That's exactly what's happening in the Labour Party now.